I never wanted revenge, but that day, it just happened. One sentence, one tiny moment, and the kid who made my life miserable, he froze. His face went pale. Everyone around us gasped, and I didn't even know why it worked until years later. If you ever felt powerless against someone who torments you, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned, because today's story is about the most satisfying accidental revenge you'll ever hear. Let me take you back to Maplewood Elementary, a small town in Oregon where everyone knew everyone else. I was 12, painfully shy, and constantly bullied by a group of kids who seemed to thrive on making me feel small. My parents tried everything. My dad, Mr. Andrew Bennett, was a respected figure in town politics and even ran the school's parent-teacher association. He was intimidating, but at the time, that only made me feel more awkward, like I had a giant shield I couldn't quite reach. Among the group of bullies, there was one kid, Brandon, who rarely spoke, but when he did, it was always with sharp jab or sneer. One day during recess, I was walking back from the library with my books clutched to my chest when Brandon stepped in front of me, his face twisted with that familiar smirk. He started talking smack again in front of half the playground. I remember the words hazily, something about my dad being a powerless figure who couldn't protect me. I felt my face burn. My ears heated. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest. And then, the part one remember most clearly, he leaned close and said, "I'm not afraid of your dad." At 12, I panicked. I wanted to shrink into a hole. My little mind scrambled for a comeback. And almost instinctively, without thinking, I muttered, "Neither am I about yours." For a moment, the world seemed to freeze. Brandon's smirk vanished. His lips quivered, and then his eyes welled up with tears. Completely silent, he shuffled away toward the swings. People gasped. Even Melissa, who was notorious for her sharp tongue, whispered, "How dare you?" My stomach dropped. Did I do something wrong? I had no idea. It wasn't until later that day I learned the truth. Brandon's father had passed away a year ago, and somehow my naive, clumsy comeback had struck a nerve I never intended to touch. I felt a rush of guilt, confusion, and a little shock. But deep down, I realized something. The world had finally shifted, even if just a little. Brandon, my relentless tormentor, stopped coming after me directly. I remember the way the sunlight fell through the trees, the chatter of kids fading into background noise as I stood frozen, trying to process it. My palms were sweaty, my throat dry, thoughts raced. Did I really just do that? Why is everyone looking at me like that? What if I get in trouble? But beneath the panic, a quiet sense of relief began to blossom. The relentless teasing that had followed me for months, it finally stopped. I couldn't have planned it. I didn't strategize. It wasn't clever or mean-spirited in the traditional sense. It was pure accidental karma. And that's what made it burn so memorably into my memory. From that day forward, Brandon avoided me entirely. No sneers, no whispers behind my back, nothing. The silent tension became my shield. I never gloated, never pointed it out. But secretly, a tiny part of me relished the irony. The bully who had laughed at me, mocked me, and tried to humiliate me had been humbled. And all I did was speak an honest, unplanned truth. Sometimes late at night, when old memories resurface on social media or reels, I feel a pang of guilt because I didn't know what I was touching. But even then, I can't help but feel a subtle satisfaction. Accidental, yes, but undeniably effective. Looking back, I realize revenge isn't always about planning or plotting. Sometimes life itself serves justice in ways we don't even expect. And sometimes the smallest words, spoken without thought, can change everything. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and tell us in the comments. Have you ever accidentally served someone a perfect comeback? And of course, subscribe for more stories where justice, karma, and accidental victories collide.